Prepare for battle.
I'm glad you're back.
Hello everyone, welcome back and thank you for tuning in with us for another episode of the RetroAchievements Podcast, where we cover a variety of genres, topics, and discuss the bits and bytes of yesteryear. Since the dawn of time when people were together, be it around the fire, sharing a meal, or simply passing the time, stories were exchanged. Sometimes a staple of lessons bundled in an entertaining envelope, others a tale to elicit excitement and warning about far-off lands, always constructed from their surroundings and what they've come to know through experience. Though the topics and location change wildly, the telling of a rousing story is still a practice that seems definitively human, and is carried with us through this very day. For many of us, what we knew consisted a lot of video games, and these campfire tales on the playground or lunchroom, in no surprising fashion, involved those very discs and cartridges. From Jimmy's dad working at Nintendo so he totally knows everything, to Pokémon making kids foam at the mouth. This is the RetroAchievements Podcast, from the Mountain of Myth. Returning once again, we have our guest today, Nadaxon. Welcome aboard, welcome back, how are you doing?
Hello, sailor. It's me, I'm back.
Yep, you are back. Welcome. What have you been up to, man? It's been a second. You've been last episode, I believe we were covering the animation topic, what made games come to life. What have you been up to since then?
Oh my god, so much. So, last time I mentioned that I was playing Persona 3. I finally, after several months, finished all 25,000 playthroughs of that. So that is my entire personality now.
Oh god.
Yeah, I know, right? So now that adventure is over, I'm catching up on some Game Gear games. One of my goals on RA is to keep the top mastery spot for Game Gear games and master them all as the sets keep coming out. Because if I don't fill all of my free time, I will explode. And after mastering about 70 different games of every kind of genre under the sun, I believe I have finally met my match with a set for a sports game.
Oh, alright, which one?
World Rush, kick the ball, something, I don't know. I got two buttons, I press them, and my little himbos in tiny shorts run around and maybe try to kick a score unit point. I'm completely lost.
Some terrible soccer game. Gotcha. So you're getting absolutely trounced by this soccer game. You're not flopping hard enough. You don't know how to get the ref's attention.
I don't know any of those words.
Soccer jokes.
Soccer. But yeah, that's it. Working, that kind of thing. How about you? What are you doing? What's going on? What?
I mean, honestly, keeping up with this, at the time of recording, the site is just coming back online. We just had a little bit of a downtime period. I believe we were changing server boxes. I am purely spitballing. But we're back online as of today. Things are back up and kicking. As for my gaming, I've actually took this time to play some more modern games again. Well, modern in the terms that they aren't on RA. Dove into Dead Cells. Been tearing that up. The Castlevania DLC is just something to be appreciated. The soundtrack alone, gorgeous. Been having a lot of fun with that. And Project Zomboid, just a little isometric, very detailed survival game. Good times, both of them. Check them out if you're so inclined.
Yeah, definitely.
Not too much RA. Beyond that, got out to the woods for a little bit, did some camping, got my back all tore up and some sunburn, so always a fun time. Yeah. It's always what we look forward to when we go out to the woods.
This is why I stay inside and draw.
Yep, but
So, I heard a rumor that you got some hot gossip on some gaming myths. Am I right?
Yeah. Yep. Like I said in the intro here, we're covering different myths that we've come across here. Earlier today, I put out a poll asking for, I think I said that snot-nosed jerk who always told tall tales. And the chat ended up voting for Jimmy. His name is Jimmy.
Ugh, fucking Jimmy.
Yeah, so we have a heel to throw under the bus for all these stories that we might have come across.
Oh.
That's a lot of the time where I would encounter. Previously, it was either through Jimmy or it was through gaming magazines, when those were like the hot topic and a hot thing you would get in the mailbox and look forward to seeing, especially the April Fool's issue. You knew in those ones that they weren't necessarily myths and legends, but it was just fun to see what people could come up with, especially when they had some money behind them. You're from the same era. You certainly have experience with this, correct?
Oh, yeah. I am looking at a huge stack of them on my bookshelf right now because I don't part with anything. And they are part of my childhood.
Exactly, and therefore they must never leave.
Never.
So, that being said, we both brought a handful of different things that we want to cover and things that stuck out to us. So how do we want to kick this off?
Good evening. Welcome to Nidaxon's Believe It or Don't.
What?
There are many strange things in this world. According to one story, in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, you can lay your hands on the full Triforce. The other day, this friend of mine, let's call her Ariana, she said to me, Nidaxon, I saw something strange. She sounded serious, so I asked her what she'd seen. She said it was about the Triforce. She claims you could learn a new song on your ocarina, leading you to a secret temple of light where you can finally obtain the Triforce. I couldn't believe it. It was thought not to exist, but she swears it was true. She even provided screenshots taken on her disposable Kodak Ready Flash camera. And they have to be real, because she said she does not know how to use Photoshop or MS Paint. Then it hit me. I gazed upon the screenshot and saw the Triforce for myself. I broke into a cold sweat. Yes, there are strange things in this world. Believe it or don't.
Okay, so how do I follow that? Okay, no, you do not get the Triforce and Ocarina at a time. Everyone has heard this legend. Well, there's no way you're tracking this thing down. I've heard the Sky Temple, I've heard the Temple of Light, I've heard a hidden door through the Temple of Time. You're not getting your hands on this thing. This rumor got so popular at one point that gaming magazines themselves wrote countless articles.
But the screenshots...
No, this is absolutely bunk. Definitely one I heard a lot myself, though. Ocarina of Time was a game that everybody was playing. I probably, before I owned it, bought that game alone through the amount I spent at Blockbuster on it. Do you get what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
Like, I rented it so many times I probably bought it, and then I ended up buying it anyway. It was a bad investment.
I mean, Blockbuster probably made a ton of money, and that's why they're doing so well today.
Son of a bitch. You get what I'm saying, though. That was definitely one of those games that was...
Yeah.
Cultural zeitgeist. Everybody was fucking playing it. So rumors were abound.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those rumors... So there was a website when I was a child. A mere fetus at the age of 15.
Big fetus.
Huge. And the website was called Hyrule, the Land of Zelda. Are you familiar?
No, but that does sound like a website from that time.
Let me paint this picture for you. The World Wide Web. The year is 1999. You're sitting at your CRT monitor compact desktop computer. You type in the URL htloz.net and you're greeted with a loading screen for a 30 kilobyte flash animation. And it goes... and then immediately cuts off because Flash is hard. This is probably the first website I found about it, and it was like this huge fan site. They had a bunch of like artwork and user submissions and people submitting rumors and stuff like that. So the girl I mentioned before, Ariana, she submitted basically a claim to the website saying that she found the Triforce and was sending screenshots. And that became such like a huge rumor, and I believe that was the first time that was mentioned. Oh. And kind of like...
Yes, okay.
Yeah, got it like basically circulating for the first time.
Yes, okay. I never went to the website myself, but I do recall hearing it mentioned and seeing screenshots of it in hearing about this tale just in modern days when it gets recanted.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely one I feel like, that game just had... at the time so much scope to it that it felt like you could sprinkle in your own flavor anywhere and it felt believable. You know, we were still yet unfamiliar with the technology, and because of that, you could be fooled by it very easy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have the entire email exchange here, but let me just give you a little taste of what we were dealing with back in the day.
Sure.
This was the groundbreaking claim that broke the internet on February 4th, 1999. She goes, "Hiya, I found..." Oh, no, I'm not doing that voice. That was a poor decision. She goes, "I found it, 4 exclamation points. I found the Triforce about a week ago, and I took a picture on Friday, but I will keep it a secret because it is hard for me to find. But was also great to find the clue that lead me to it. Please give me full credit for this. In about a month, I will say where it is and how to get it. I love your site, and I have been a fan since the beginnings. That's why I'm sending this to you, close parentheses. Because in the 90s, we didn't have emojis yet, so we had to make smileys by using keyboard symbols, and they looked like faces. And it was delightful.
Mm-hmm. Bring them back. Every time I do it now, it auto-converts, and I want to fucking throw my phone.
But she gives like the full like walkthrough on how to do it. So it goes, Ocarina of Time spoilers, by the way. Step 1. First of all, you should know that Kepora Gebora is Rauru. If you want to know from where I get this information, go to the Sacred Forest Meadow in the Lost Woods and talk to 2 gossip stones there. They don't actually say it, but they suggest it. And that's a fact. Okay, now step 2. So, okay, that wasn't even a step. That was just her saying things. So we're off to a great start so far. Step 2, all capital letters. I will not include step 2. You'll have to find this part of the chain by yourselves or wait a month until I reveal everything. Step 3. Okay, I don't know about you, but I am on the edge of my seat right now. Mm-hmm. Step 3. Somewhere, sometime, Kepora Gebora, that is Rauru, will teach you a song that you must learn, like the Scarecrow song. So write it down on a paper or try to remember it. It's the Overture of Sages. By the way, you will learn this melody when you're, Y-O-U-R, child. What else do you need, ? I don't know, maybe some coherent sentences. Step 4. If you get the sword and become adult, then this will never work. Stand in front of the Master Sword, all one word. Don't get it, please, 5 exclamation points, and play the Overture of Sages. Step 5. Watch the cinema display Link traveling to Temple of Light, and now you have the Triforce.
Oh, that was the way.
I don't know about you, but I'm sold.
We had no way to verify anything. We were just wanting to believe this stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and then like finishing up with this, step 2, she finally revealed a couple months later. She goes, people all over the world will try my story. They will swallow it like candies, no matter that the pictures are total fake. The mistakes I made in purpose were to show you how silly some people can be. People will play nonstop and will not even sleep. Everything just for me. Ja. I'm still receiving emails. And as many people thought, I'm not from Colombia. Maybe I'm not even a girl, but you'll never know. What a ride.
It was just that way.
Yeah, and like you were saying, like this is only the tip of the iceberg for rumors for this game.
There was also tracking down the postman that you race against, could catch him, allegedly.
Yes.
Yeah, infinitely later, we would break the game and find out you could do that and crash it horribly.
Oh, wait, you could?
No, like with ROM hacking type shit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just to see what would happen, that somebody did it.
So, even though all this came from such a long time ago, it's really cool how it still has a legacy to this day. I mean, like 20-something years later, a Twitch stream happened where somebody was playing Ocarina of Time, and what looked like a normal speedrun, off towards the beginning of the game, Link and starts doing this like erratic movement as if somebody's pressing a bunch of buttons really quick. Obviously, this is some kind of like tool-assisted speedrun going on. And then suddenly a bunch of stuff is happening that nobody's ever seen before. But the Twitch streamers are kind of playing it off as if this is normal. What they start seeing is a bunch of different areas that were never seen before, a lot of beta models and stuff that they claimed were still in the game. And they start going through all this stuff, going through a bunch of the rumors, like they're actually racing against the Running Man.
I believe I've seen this. Yeah, this was. Did they get like an amulet awarded to them or something?
Yeah, they actually beat him. There's like a boss fight after that. They do all this like random stuff and all these quests that nobody's ever heard of. And it culminates in them finding the Triforce. And people on the Twitch stream are like, what the fuck is going on? And then it leads into, I believe they had like a choice from there. It's like you get a wish like you do with the Triforce. And they chose See the Future. And it leads into a N64 style graphics of Breath of the Wild.
It was gorgeous.
And they come out on this platform. And then they start talking in like full voice acting. And then like all the comments from the Twitch stream come up like in the game. And they're starting to reveal that this was, some sort of like ROM hack kind of thing that they were injecting live into the cartridge. I don't understand. That's way above my pay grade. I just make the pretty pictures. But they were doing all this, and it was kind of like a thank you to the community, and it was this whole like big grand thing. And I thought it was very interesting that like after all this time, they referenced this rumor that's been so well known for all this time, and they kind of pay homage to it. And I just thought it was like really cool. If anybody's interested in this, look up Triforce % Run, Ocarina of Time.
It was a complete love letter, absolutely, to everything Zelda, to everything the community had rallied for over the years. If there was something you wanted to see done, exactly on the topic we're covering, these guys achieved it. They made your childhood dream come true in what looks to be a realistic way. It hits all those buttons, and I also cannot recommend that enough.
Exactly. And I just thought that was... I watched it, and it's like, we finally found the Triforce in Zelda. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah, it baits you hard. It's a good couple minutes before you realize, or if you are familiar with the guys who are playing, you know right away. A couple of the early tricks they do, you're like, oh, whoa. It takes you right back to that wonder,
Right.
It's fantastic time. I mean, the one that I'm going to lead in here with, and frankly, I don't have some campfire, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Believe it or don't.
I'm in the water, man. I got nothing. I'm just going to be talking. My first one is another one that sounds like so absurd on the surface, and when you really start to pick it apart at the time, you're like, oh, okay, here's where that cultural reference came from. Here's how this got tied in. It just starts to make sense. Mine comes a little bit before yours, a little bit before me. An old arcade game called Polybius.
Oh.
Have you heard of this?
I sure have.
Excellent.
Who hasn't?
Yes. So, you basically have this story. 1981, this arcade game shows up out of nowhere. It's dropped off by some mysterious men in black. It has some additional peripherals inside the actual cabinet, said to collect data on how many people play it, how long they play it. Sort of a Nelson box, but for an arcade system. The thing is at the time, we also have no idea how advanced the tech is that these other folks in black could have, and it's said to also monitor your vitals. Well, you have soon tales of obsessive lines forming around the block, people showing up day and night trying to get in and play it. Not only that, they can't sleep, they can't eat. It's an addictive drug. They're obsessing over this. They're feeding its money, so much so that only after a month of showing up at a handful of select arcade games across the country, these same men in black come up, pick them up in vans, and take off, never be seen again. What came went as quickly as it showed up. This whole dark myth ended up getting a lot of people looking at other arcade games, and it spawned a lot of tangential myths. You would hear things like the arcade games now are able to kill people or turn people into sleeper cells, and but this seemed to be the original. And if you trace these things back, you find that it comes out of specifically one day in 1981 at a big arcade where two kids ended up being to be removed by ambulance. Completely different incidents, completely different game. One kid was trying to beat Asteroids 2 world record. He got to about 28 hours, had some kind of gut ache. Another one was playing, I believe, Tempest, who had an overwhelming migraine, and then he had to leave. So that would put the arcade on the map for feds, who were still seeing a lot of action in arcade, being yet unfamiliar with how popular gaming would become, assumed it must be an underground gambling parlor. So that's where the men in black start hanging around. That's where you start getting this tale. You do see people looking a little bit suspicious to be at an arcade, but they're not there setting up a cabinet. They think you're gambling. So yeah, all these things culminate into this, frankly, I think amazing work of fiction. I absolutely love Polybius. The tale itself, I remember when I came across it in a magazine, I believe, or some kind of online forum. It's been too long to recall where exactly. I was absolutely astounded with the concept of something being able to collect your data without your knowing it. Little did I know, we would have cell phones in our pockets and Google and everything else just years later.
Isn't that just modern day?
Right, Logan, the technological hell you're describing, it's here.
The future is now.
But yeah.
Little did we know.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the things that always sticks out in my mind as a highlight and probably my favorite just myth, just surrounding gaming in general. Well, that wasn't one Jimmy had to tell on the playground. That was one I was telling on the playground. Time Crush was getting that one around.
I think it's pretty interesting how we, looking back at it, we like we said, that wouldn't happen these days.
No.
But like in the 80s, like you definitely could believe that happened. And that's such like a well-known rumor that it's permeated into, is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, permeate, just seeped through.
Yeah, it's like bled into the zeitgeist, into like everything since then. Like there's so many references everywhere to like what it is, even if people don't know about it.
It might not even be a reference just so much as what you're getting is not what it seems.
Right.
That theme has now become just a staple in making something feel unfamiliar that you thought you knew. There's a lot of tongue-in-cheek references if you go back and actually take apart this myth. The German company who allegedly owned and manufactured Polybius was a German named Sinnoschlaschen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure, totally. Yeah. It translates, though, to mind blank.
Spooky.
Also, the Greek historian Polybius was born in a place called Arcadia, which, a little bit on the nose.
Ooh.
It was a campfire tale this whole time. No. So yeah, it's just, I love it. And you're right. It's something that could never happen today because someone's pulling out their phone. One, the tale's too absurd. You're going to get kind of looked at like a weirdo. And two, someone's going to pull out their phone and just 5 seconds later look at you with a Google result saying, no, you're wrong.
There actually is a more recent game, I believe, in the last couple of years called Polybius, which is, I believe, on PS4.
Like a fan-made type thing, yeah.
I might be thinking a different game. I don't know. I'm probably wrong.
Well, sorry, not fan-made, but it's definitely not a big budget thing. It was like one of those, somebody just did it about the arcade game, right?
I think it's in the style of like a 80s arcade game spaceship shooter type dealy. Like what the actual gameplay of Polybius was rumored to be or something like that.
There's one that came out in 2017.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, it's really neat that, like I said, besides references to it in like media, that, people were actually inspired to make an actual
product
game out of it, yeah.
We got a lot more to come. RetroAchievements Podcast at gmail.com. If you got listener mail, send that on in, and we'll be right back.
Do not hate humans. If you cannot live with them, then at least do them no harm, for theirs is already a hard lot.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Those were just the first couple entries on our list. We got a lot more to cover. How do we want to dive in?
So the next one is... Oh, hold on. Hello again.
There we go.
Welcome back to Nidaxon's Believe It or Don't. There are many strange things in this world. According to one story, there is a secret garden located behind Bill's house in his own backyard. The other day, a friend of mine, let's call him Magikarp Salesman, he says, Nidaxon, I saw something strange. He said it was about the opening in the mountains behind Bill's house. He claims he saw a bunch of large, powerful Pokémon back there that he's never seen before, like Peekaboo and Mew3 and Yoshi. Well, I couldn't believe it. Those are not pocket monsters I've ever heard of. The Magikarp Salesman was as white as a sheet. He insisted it was true. Then it hit me. I saw these rare and powerful Pokémon for myself. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I broke into a cold sweat. Yes, there are strange things in this world. Believe it or don't.
Another fantastic episode.
Thank you. Shout out to my gamers who understand this ridiculous reference. Okay, so you see, in the 90s, these legendary rare secret Pokemon that have never been seen before were called Pokegods. I wouldn't really call them gods. Some of them were pretty believable, but some were just really ridiculous in concept, and half of them were like, "What, you like Pikachu? This is a grass Pikachu. It's called Pikabud. You thirsty? This one's a water one. We call it Pikablu. It's great. Hey, Pikachus? Yeah, me too. They suck. We killed it. This is a ghost. It's called Peekaboo." So, along with Bill's backyard, there were similarly the patches of grass on the side of Pallet Town that were fenced off and that you couldn't get to. They claimed that you can get all the starters that you didn't pick, catch them in the wild there. There's all these legendary and weird and random Pokemon that you've never seen before. I do want to list off some of these names because the 90s were wild.
Give me the names. Give me the names.
There's about 45 Pokemon that were in this category, but
Oh my god.
some of the highlights. Peekaboo, Hau-U, Lunarion and Solnarion,
All right.
Buru or Bruno, Rainer, Charcoal, Sapasaur, Beepin, Doomsday and Doomsday, Dimonix, Nidogod and Nidogoddess, Flareth, Millennium, Apocalypse, and Anthrax.
You,
Because 90s.
you know what? The Solarion and Lunarion one is kind of fun because you eventually would have like Solrock and Lunarock, I believe they are called.
Yeah. The cool thing about a bunch of these is they were just stuff from Gold and Silver that kind of got leaked from Japan. But the internet wasn't what it was today. So everybody just believed that they were Pokemon that you can catch in Red and Blue. The Lunarion and Solarion actually turned out to be evolutions,
Perfect.
or that's what they thought they were. But Espeon and Umbreon is what that turned into.
That makes a lot more sense. All right. So for this one, I did not hear of them being located in the cave. I have heard the name Peekaboo. I have my own handful of myths coming from the Pokemon games as well. The one that comes to mind first of all for me is the Mew hiding under the truck near the SS Anne. There was some convoluted way and some near impossible amount of steps, be it beating the Elite Four with only one Pokemon, what have you. Fill in the impossible quest. If you did this one step, you would be able to use strength next to the truck, push it aside, and have an encounter with Mew. This is just one pebble on the heap for the myths that are Pokemon.
I mean, the reason you probably didn't get it to work is because you have to take a level 100 Nidoking, show it to the guy at the game corner. He will give you the keys, so that's how you move the truck.
Gotcha.
So that's probably why you didn't get it.
That's exactly it.
The Magikarp salesman told me exactly how to do it, and he has never steered me wrong.
Oh my god, I'm in my 30s and I legit just had a flash of like real annoyance towards something in my childhood.
It was probably me.
Anyway. God. Yeah, see, I had like some other obvious ones from Pokemon that come to mind, just to kind of, they're the ones I don't want to spend too much time on because everyone's heard of them, but like Lavender Town with the music that made kids suicidal or something, you know, it makes you want to do horrible things, fill in the blank.
That explains my childhood. I always wanted to do horrible things.
You can blame it on Lavender Town now, everything's fine. Yes, it's just Lavender Town, it's not a phase. Holding down and B to, you know, make the Pokeballs work better. That's obviously...
Actually, it's up and A.
No, there's a reason you didn't find all these hidden god Pokemon.
I just played Legends Arceus and I tried it. It still works. It's up A.
Don't have Peekaboo.
You're right. I don't.
No. And eventually the one that ended up coming true that seemed the most fantastical and was the one that, you know, by the time people actually had a method to track this down, after hearing all these rumors, you were tired of it. So thank God it ended up being real and missing. No, you know, that was such a big talk of the town when people actually reliably found a way to get this.
Oh, yeah.
Another series that just with the era that it hit, the internet being as limited as it was, you really didn't have a way to fact check a lot of things and people were allowed to just run wild.
I want to share something with you.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I had my very own angelfire.com Pokemon website.
Oh, no.
And I was at the forefront, on the front lines of tracking these Pokegods and all these rumors and myths.
Oh, no.
Oh, goodness. It brings me right back, just anything from this era.
Oh.
When I was trying to
be
a part of something.
Ooh.
It probably still exists. If you're good at that kind of internet sleuthing, I think you can probably find it still. Is Angel Fire even still like a thing?
I don't. Why? What do you think? What? When would I ever? Why?
I don't know.
No.
Because I didn't take down the site, so if they are still there, then the site still exists.
I mean, the Wayback Machine is somewhere. You could probably dig it up if you remember it. But do you want it to be found?
I don't know. You know what? Yeah, I do. I worked hard on that. You know what? This is a brand new contest for the Retro Achievements Podcast.
Oh, God.
If you find my website, I give you a $10 gift card. Pokemon World or Pokemon World RPG.
Oh, Jesus.
Go nuts.
That's horrible.
How do you know when you found it? Oh.
I mean, the Pokemon rumors abound. They just seem to go on forever. I'm going to kind of tie it back to the arcade era, though, if we could. Just because it kind of piggybacks off Polybius and somewhere those stories got started. I accidentally name-dropped it when I was talking about it. Berserk. It was known kind of as like the killing arcade game. They kicked it up a notch. Now you are said to elicit heart fulminations and seizures, but had like an addictive crack cocaine quality that you had to keep coming back to. This one, born from being at the time where the crack epidemic was everywhere, and a kid named Peter Bukowski who had a heart defect ended up actually dying of a completely unrelated heart attack while playing. So, you combine a couple of those things, boom, rumor, and it's off to the races, especially in a time where you didn't really have internet at all, let alone predecessor internet. That was just one I kind of wanted to lump in there. Another one in the arcade days, but definitely saw itself come back later, just to kind of keep them going, and one that everybody knows, of course, error macro. Of course, if you shorten those two words down to fit it on the arcade game, it's going to say Ermac. That's Mortal Kombat. This quickly spun out of hand when people saw that pop up on the screen. Allegedly, as the story went, Scorpion would palette swap to a red outfit, and this was the hint that there was still one more character to unlock in the game. Later, it was determined that no amount of computer glitch or screwing around would actually palette swap Scorpion that way. And, of course, it did just mean error macro. It's just a statistic for the arcade game itself. As most everybody knows at this point, years later, Mortal Kombat would nod to it, becoming such a big reference, and made the character Ermac an actual person with his own lore and everything else. So he does exist in the game now. There is an Ermac, but for years, it was just that status splash screen. Did you play a lot of Mortal Kombat at all growing up, Nadax? Was that something that you ever got involved with friends? Or
I had a bunch of friends that were into it. I think it was like Mortal Kombat 6. Played it for a little bit, and I was like, this isn't for me. But I am familiar with that myth, and I believe there was a bunch of other ones like that around that era. Oh, I'm thinking Street Fighter. That's something else.
Oh, I know that one too. Yeah. But I was definitely into the fighting games at the time.
I do want to point out that I thought it was really cool that they saw that this myth and this rumor was kind of like circulating in the community, and they actually implemented it later on.
Okay. Yes, same way. It's the Shenlong one, right?
Yeah. Similarly, the whole Mew under the truck rumor from Pokémon, that became such a popular thing that later on in later versions of Kanto remakes, they actually hid a secret item in that same area where the truck is.
Oh, no kidding.
I believe Fire Red, Leaf Green. It's like a lava cookie. In another game, it's a Revive. And then they were really cheeky once they got to Ultra Sun and Moon. There's a truck near like a hotel or something for a side quest, and you hear something moving under it, and it's a Meowth. So they're definitely like referencing back to it.
That's good though. I'm glad at least they're doing that. But you sons of bitches.
Yeah, you still can't get Mew that way. But they're like, hey, yo, thanks for playing. Here's a cookie. There is a way to glitch Mew into the game through some sort of like forcing a random encounter through this very obscure and random process.
So, there was like you fly and right as you walk out of a Poke Center somewhere and then you fly somewhere else. I do remember those methods.
Which, I mean, when I saw that blew my mind. I saw that like 20 years after, yeah.
Yeah, that was good enough.
I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they found that kind of thing.
I'll keep it brief because I think I told this on another podcast, but I was fortunate enough that at the time Pokemon Stadium was coming out, there was a place in Detroit that was hosting a giant tournament with several of the cups. You had your entry small level cups and your Master Ball cup and all that kind of stuff. Ended up going down there. Your seat could get randomly drawn to go test demo Pokemon Stadium before it was coming out for a couple months. They were actually giving away badges for how many people you defeated. You only were able to actually do 3 fights. I would find out years and years later that you were supposed to come back the next day if you won your fights. But being a child, my mom's like, all right, you did it. Let's go home. And I believed her.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
I got a badge.
Damn it. Mom, I could have been great. No. I want to be the very best. But no, it was... One thing that they did do, though, is on day one, anybody who was there got awarded an honorary Mew with an actual certificate of authenticity.
Oh.
So I had an actual legit Mew that did not mess up my cartridge.
Wonderful. And then it died
Yeah.
the day that your battery died.
We don't.
So now it is in Pokemon heaven with the Pokegods. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, how's that trauma doing? Boy? Yeah, died along with all your hopes and dreams?
Jesus Christ. You stomped it.
Night Axe and you stomp. It was super effective.
But yeah, that was my nice, happy memory that I like to hold on to.
I'm so glad I can ruin it for you.
No shit.
Remember me forever, no?
No shit. Anyway, Jesus. But yeah, I did have the Mew that way. Pokemon, like I said, just a series that was absolutely ripe for these rumors.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, keeping it moving just because I'm sure we're going to get running on long on time. It always seems to go that way. Next one I kind of came across in my years was on the PS1, Lara Croft, Nude Cheat. Being one of the first women-forward video games that really kind of struck popularity, it wasn't unusual that teenagers quickly snickered about being able to see those triangles naked. Either through camera trickery or a secret code, you could allegedly get Lara to remove her shirt. Of course, wasn't true, but it got so much attention that even the developers themselves, the second entry, they specifically coded in something as a little treat. The rumor circulated much the same, that you could see Lara naked. Here's the code this time, though. Here, yep, it wasn't just an alleged impossible thing. We've got the code. Here you go right now. Except soon as you enter it, Laura explodes into a giant pile of limbs. So it was just a little tongue-in-cheek of stop being so pervy. We've heard about this one. Here you go, you little bastards. It definitely got a lot of attention just at the time. Not so much. I was more on the series when Tomb Raider 2 was the big thing. So I only came involved when I was just handed a cheat that made me die, and I didn't get it. This is what, okay. But I didn't know it was, tying back to that first whole cultural era where everyone was trying to see a whole 4 polygons.
I feel like that's the kind of thing you would have to, go into it expecting something in order to get the full benefit of the joke.
Yeah, no, you definitely had to be aware. It went over Kid Me's head. I mean, fine, which it probably should have, but yeah, it was way beyond me. But definitely one that I remember sticking out to me just because of how I encountered it. I'm sure you were. Who wasn't familiar with hearing about stories like this in the PS1? You heard about Lara and the shirtless goat.
I mean, yeah, after the fact, I've heard about it. Not when I was a kid, though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into dudes, so.
Well, that'll happen.
Not the polygons I was looking at. But yeah, I feel like that's something that would definitely be in the magazines. They would distribute that code, be like, this is a secret code your parents don't want you to know, or something like that.
Right.
And kids would be like, yeah, we're 7.
Little tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
We're 7.
We're 7. Fuck you, Mom and Dad.
It always goes hand in hand. How old are you? I'm 7. Fuck you, Mom and Dad. I mean, just keeping them going. Next one I've got is just the cow level from Diablo. Infamous. And another one where the series developers end up going, hey, we hear you, and we got you.
Why don't you explain that for people who haven't heard of it before?
Oh, who the hell hasn't heard of the Diablo cow level?
I mean, certainly not me, but I want,
wow.
Just in case somebody in the audience just happens.
All right, no, okay, wow. So Diablo 1, there was a cow in the town. The whole game took place in the town, and you would have different dungeon entrances leading off of that main town. You could click on the cow and it'd go moo.
Oh.
That's it.
End of rumor.
No. But the rumor was that there was some kind of way to get to another world where these cows were equipped with weapons and armor, and there was tons of them, and you could fight them like the enemies. Cue, like every other rumor we've talked about so far, the impossible method to get there. Gotta fight the game without leveling up, yada yada.
Now, question.
Yeah.
Asking for a friend. What led children to believe that there was a secret cow world?
No, it wasn't necessarily children so much at this time. This was one for people that were probably a little bit older. And if I remember correctly, Blizzard had been doing little tongue-in-cheek kind of fun nods in their previous games. Especially that, what was it, The Lost Vikings? That had a lot of little fun referential things, so it wasn't too outside the realm of possibility that there might be some way to get there. And we didn't have the way to completely data dump things that we do now, and everything that's there you can see.
Right.
So that was where this thing kind of got born from. Years and years later, when the second game came out, there's these cows again. Of course, people, oh, hey, remember the cow level rumor? Oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. All right, well, you end up going back through a portal, this town from the original game. It's all destroyed. It's pretty much blown out from the events that took place in the first one. And there is a kid here that used to have a peg leg, and you grab his leg. All right, we've got that. It doesn't do anything. It's a very crappy blunt weapon. Most people probably just throw it in their stash and forget about it, moving on. A few hours later, in a different part of the game, you get something called the Herodic Cube. Lets you combine items. All right, cool. We use that for completely different mechanical functions. It's been hours, if not days, depending on how fast you play this game, since you've picked up that wooden leg. Who knows if you even have it anymore. Now you have to beat the game. This is just an arbitrary restriction because they don't want you going in here early and having the fun joke before actually experiencing the seriousness of the game. But once you do so, you can take these Tomes of Town Portals, which is a book full of scrolls of town portals, put it in the cube, put the kid's leg in the cube, and you make a portal to the cow level. And you go inside there, and there are now hordes and hordes of bovine on their back legs with things like halberds, pitchforks, and other weaponry. All just not saying like a cow moo, but just casually moo, 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 moo.
Moo.
Yeah, that's it. That's it 100%. And you just get to mow down a ton of cows. Each game after that hasn't necessarily had a cow level, but they all have their own kind of fun, hey, check that out.
Huh.
Diablo 4's hasn't been found yet. Diablo 3 had a unicorn level.
Whimsical.
But yeah, just little fun stuff like that. It definitely is one of the things I think about, and I'm 100% certain if Diablo 4 doesn't have one yet, it will when it gets patched in, or it just simply hasn't been found. I guarantee you it will have one. I guarantee you.
That's pretty interesting. Like we were going off before just on how developers kind of like stay keyed into these rumors and everything, and they just fuck with us.
Yeah, no, that's the greatest way to put it. It's like a good, like you would fuck with your friends though, like you giving them shit or something, it's one of those things where it's that good-natured, hey, you remember this? All right. Definitely one of the fun things I think about, especially with some of those developers. And I don't want to see it go away. We're only going to have more of it as other legends start to take hold. I'm not paying attention to that scene as much, admittedly,
right,
as I was, but you do have, entire subgenres of YouTube channels dedicated to just dissecting theories and dissecting, different little lore tidbits here and there and making their own connections and myths surrounding games. So it's definitely something that's still active for sure. And I do hope developers take notice just like they used to.
Yeah.
We just got a few more on our list.
Yeah.
And what do you have for us?
Well, I have something that's very, very interesting, in fact, because, oh, hi, it's me again. We're still doing this bit. And according to one story, in Persona 4, there's a mysterious blinking eye that appears on Yosuke's persona, Susanoo, out of nowhere, staring directly into your soul. Where does it come from? Well, a friend of mine told me you must rank up Yosuke's social link on his birthday. Then, with a party full of only female personas, go back to the bathhouse and, you know what, this one's just a glitch. I don't really have anything else on it. Okay, so in Persona 4, if you go to the status screen for Yosuke's persona, sometimes there would be this symbol that looks like a blinking eye, and it's really creepy if you just see this with no context. It happens sometimes, and people still to this day don't know how to get it to appear.
Do they know what it comes from? Like what the resource is it's pulling?
They do know that it's like in the game as like a symbol, like it's in the sprite sheet, but they have no idea what it's supposed to represent, what causes it. It appears on other people's personas as well, but mostly on Susanoo is where it is most common.
Okay.
It turns out the developers did come back on this one, and it was only in the English version of the PS2 game. Apparently, it was just something that they didn't edit out.
They just straight came out and were like, no, we didn't mean for this to be there. That means nothing.
Yeah, it just wasn't properly taken out of that game.
Gotcha.
But they never revealed what exactly it was for. There was a mechanic in Persona 3 called heart items, where you can fuse a persona and it would have a heart symbol on it. And then if you get all of its abilities, it would spawn a rare item. So people are kind of thinking that it had something to do with that, as if this was some sort of proto heart item system that just was never implemented. But people still don't, to this day, know.
Have real concrete info on it.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that, that's a PS2 game, so, we're getting into that era, and it's still alive and well with all this speculation and everything.
Oh, definitely.
Or it could be a ghost haunting the game.
Oh, YouTube video win.
Somebody drowned.
That's one thing I will mention on this topic is there is an absolute oversaturation. You call them creepypastas now. They're no longer myths. It's just some kids spinning up some horrible, and then blood poured out of his eyes. It's like, I've heard a million. I'm sick of it.
And then suddenly you hear the music that you usually hear when you're drowning. Nah,
right? Yeah, it's. I don't know. It seems to just be absolutely oversaturated. There's videos everywhere. They get tiring. They cover the same kind of topics. The tropes they have are just stale and overused. It doesn't seem to be really anything that hooks anybody anymore, has that much creativity. There was one from Morrowind that kind of stuck up. I believe the tagline was "Watch the Sky." You had this guy who would report there was a modded version of Morrowind that anybody could access, and it made all the NPCs or enemies dead on the ground, and the NPCs who were around were staring at the sky, frozen in place. But then there was this fully black modeled out assassin character that would stalk the player through the lands and hunt them down. That was probably the last most modern one I read that was like, I know this is fake, this is over the top fake, but it's actually told creatively and I'm having a good time. Beyond that, it would be years and years before you would get things not related to video games anymore, but just good unsettling videos. You have Kane Pixels, that guy who's doing the fantastic series on the Backrooms, so much so that I believe a large Hollywood studio ended up acquiring him, and he's now producing something using that kind of talent and budget.
You know what? Good for him.
Yeah, no, he's like 17 or 18 years old now. He's a kid, and does some fantastic content. So that's probably, like I said, it's not even video game related anymore, but that's the same kind of air that these things used to kind of provoke, that they start to lean in towards the creepy. It's now just not a myth, it's the creepy. Maybe something we could revisit come Halloween. Definitely a topic I'd like to cover. There's definitely something to chew on. I mean,
there. I was a little scaredy cat when I was a kid, so those kind of things scared me. And even though I didn't really necessarily believe them to be true, it still stuck with me. So to hear like that kind of thing is still like alive and well nowadays. Maybe not under the name creepypasta, but through just YouTube and
just general creativity.
Yeah, creativity being used for good and like something that they're passionate about, I didn't have that as a kid. I couldn't do that.
Definitely. So tying back to the actual myths, there's a couple that I actually experienced.
I would like to hear about those.
We have them. So the first one was, at the time I'm at my dad's. We live in the middle of BFE, absolute nowhere. There's a swamp nearby. When it gets dark, it gets dark.
Ooh, advanced darkness.
Yeah, like it's that kind of place. And it's probably 2, 3 in the morning. I've been asleep for a little while. I fell asleep playing a game. Can't even remember what it was. But I do wake up, and I hear kind of like faint crackles and whispers, and it's coming from the television. Now at the time I have a television where if nothing's happening on the screen it would dim. So I can't see anything too much. I just hear something whispering at me from the television, and it's not from any kind of game I've been playing or own. And cue me screaming, because we're in the middle of the country and the house is haunted, and I probably saw a poltergeist not too many years ago, and I'm probably going to die now. So, yeah, I was screaming my head off. Dad comes rushing in, obviously, flicks the light out, blah, blah, blah. And never get a resolution to it until years and years and years later, where I find out Microsoft, being little bastards, totally, if you left yourself idled on the main menu of the Xbox long enough, there were allegedly recordings from the Apollo space mission, just kind of faintly baked into the background audio.
Why?
Why? Why? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
why would
exactly
you
why.
Do such
why
a thing
indeed?
Such as that?
To make little kids shit themselves, scream, and wake their dad up. That's why. But that was an actual thing. And of course, I sounded like an absolute lunatic trying to convince my dad that I definitely did just hear the TV talking to me.
I feel like there's some video or something where there are little kids watching TV and then like it's talking to them suddenly in whispers or whatever. I think it's like a short film. I don't know.
I mean, even the movie I saw back in the day was Poltergeist. Are you not familiar?
No, I am overly sensitive to spookles. Your story you just told me is probably going to give me nightmares for the next 3 years.
Okay, so this is a movie from the 80s, Poltergeist. The scene I'm talking about is this little girl, couldn't be much older than like 5 or 6 years old, who sits down and has a conversation with the TV static.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I got goosebumps just telling you about it. I hate that shit. And of course, the house is irreparably haunted.
Well, that's good. I didn't need any more sleep.
No, shit. That's what I saw at some point in my childhood. And then I wake up in the middle of the night and my TV is talking to me. We're all gonna die. Get out of the house.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's... Yeah, it was the worst timing. And the best. It couldn't have been much better. Something has a sense of humor.
I wish I could find that movie I'm talking about. I feel like... I don't know if you... Are you into, like, scary stuff?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think you'd probably like it then. It's kind of like a psychological type. Sound off in the comments if you know what it is. And while you're there, like, comment, subscribe, do a jumpin' jacks. Or
all that good
tackle
stuff.
a patriarchy. I don't know. What do you kids do these days? Just do it. Hey, hi, hello. Editing Night Action here. The name of the movie is Skidamarink.
I don't know. The Xbox just had a lot of stuff that was the era where I experienced it personally. And it was at the same kind of time where, the internet was becoming more of a common staple. It was more, accessible. Didn't have to go to the library. It started to be in your house, if not yours, your friends' houses. And at the same time, Halo 2 was big on the map. Definitely something that a lot of my friends played. It was back when you would actually haul your Xbox and your TVs over to one person's house. Somebody had a switch, and I'm not talking Nintendo. It would actually be a LAN network switch, and you hardwired into that thing. Everybody gets connected, and you're off to the races. Good times. And I swear, you spent half the night just getting the stuff set up, but just the experience of doing it, I feel like was most of the fun.
Oh, yeah.
What myth got born out of that I actually was able to experience myself, not at this Halo party necessarily. This was something you would experience online. They were just called ghosts. They didn't have a name. They didn't show up on the leaderboard. They were absolutely untouchable, unkillable, juggernauts. Whenever you got killed by them, it just said killed by the Guardians, as if you fell off the map or went out of bounds. They didn't have any kind of tagline or anything. For a long time, people totally said, this is bullshit, you're lying, there's no way this is happening, and then boom, there's one. Everybody tries to gang up on them. Doesn't matter. It comes at you like just a force of absolute nature. Tears you from limb to limb, and disappears as quick as he came. No one really knew what was going on, and it wasn't something that happened often. But years later, you would find out that it was actually a thing that was programmed in. Whenever a game got too bogged down and servers started to get like overloaded, it would spawn in like an unnamed character to clean it up.
Huh.
And that's exactly what they did. But they didn't have that explanation at the time, or if they did, that wasn't something that was well known or well circulated. So you were just left to your own devices, and a lot of that was just like, it's a ghost in the system. It literally just says killed by the Guardians. Maybe that's a Guardian. I don't know. But yeah, Halo had a lot of those too. What entry was it that had those little monkey people in it? Like, completely unrelated to the game, and unlike anything you would see in the game elsewhere, it was just a little model asset of like a monkey family, like some kind of missing link looking type ape creatures. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, I don't know, but you're giving me the spookles right now.
Yeah,
Thinking of these like fucking like realistic looking monkey.
Yeah,
things.
and totally like out of place. A modeling style that is not used in the game elsewhere. This is the only place you see them crop up. I don't think that one ever got an explanation.
Huh.
Yeah. It's just weird little things like that. Xbox seemed to be ripe for it. I think it was just because that was an era where they started to have a lot more playtime with their memory, a lot more playtime with their storage. So you just had a lot more access. Did you have anything else to round us off on your list? I've got one more just kind of rapid fire that I've only heard of, but I'm not familiar super much with the subject, but I do still want to draw attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, back when I was a kid, I was really into Link to the Past. I think that was the first Zelda that I really had as my own game instead of inheriting it from like a sibling or something. So that was the game where I would spend years just running around, starting new games for some reason, and just exploring every bit of the world. So that was really before the whole Ocarina of Time, where everybody remembers. That was kind of the first thing that I had the experience with playground rumors and, hearing from fucking Jimmy, like all these different things. One of the biggest things, and I don't really think anybody talked about this. I haven't heard on the internet since, but between me and my friends, there's a part in the game, spoilers if you haven't played this 25-year-old game, there's a point in the game where you get the Master Sword, and then you get a telepathic message from Zelda, and she's like, help, we're being attacked or something. And you go to the church where she is, only to find the sage or the priest that was taking care of her lying on the floor dying, and she's been kidnapped. And that goes to the rest of the game. My dumbass, when I was a kid, specifically taking this game dialogue at face value because he says with his dying breath, you're a second too late. I thought if you got there fast enough, you could save Zelda. And I don't know what I thought would happen because she needs to be kidnapped in order for the rest of the game to proceed.
I can win the game now, damn it.
I don't know. I was dumb. Again.
No, I had plenty of those situations where you just something gets stuck in your head where you're like, I'm putting this own constraint on me, but if I can overcome it, this totally fantastical thing that I thought up will happen.
Or, your crippling undiagnosed OCD that's forcing you to do this. Otherwise, you'll live in agony for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Exactly. Even it's like things that I can't possibly imagine would happen. But I spent so long trying, saving right beforehand, and you can warp directly to that point in the sanctuary by saving and quitting. Of course, it didn't work, but I would save and quit, and I'm like, oh no, that takes too much time. And then I would run back, and I would try to do it without getting hit, and I would try to do it the least amount of time possible. But I never was able to do it, and I think I just gave up. Because there is no indication that anything would have happened anyway.
I mean, much in the same vein, and I think one that maybe a few more people could relate to, Mega Man X. The intro stage, when you get to the end of it, you fight Vile, who's in his giant mech suit.
Right.
But at the time, there's no HP bar, there's no any indication. He is getting hit, but he doesn't seem to be slowing down, and he is whooping your ass.
I remember that. I do remember that.
I definitely restarted that game so many times, absolutely confident. Far after beating the game, I'd played Mega Man X into the dirt. Far after beating it, I was confident, now with this skill set, now with what I know, I can do this, I just have to be good enough. No, but just one of those things where you tell yourself, if I do it, something will happen.
Were you actually able to beat him?
I don't believe so, not in the Super Nintendo version.
I might be thinking of a different game, but something in my head is telling me it's one of those things where you can beat him, but the same thing happens, kind of thing. There's a boss like that in the first Kingdom Hearts. Oh, look, Ned Axon's here. He's talking about Kingdom Hearts.
I mean, if you can beat him in the first Mega Man X, I don't know about it. I will be wildly impressed and pissed off at the same time because I put too much time in it.
Would you feel even worse knowing you can do it, but you weren't able to as a kid?
100%. 100%. Absolutely would. That's 2 dreams shattered this episode.
Yeah. Let's go for 3, baby.
So, last one I've got is just rapid fire. Like I said, I didn't have experience with it, but it is one of the more famous ones. Have you heard of the Madden Curse?
Nope. Sports.
Yep, exactly. So, as the story goes, and there is some validity to it, this is sort of a real-life video game myth. Anybody who seems to go on the cover of the Madden game suffers some kind of defeat.
Oh.
So, from 99, Garrison Hurst broke his ankle. 2000, Barry Sanders retired out of training camp, didn't even get to play. 2001, Eddie George fumbled in the playoffs, subsequently had a lot of injuries. 02, Culpepper blew out his knee. 03, Falk, ankle injury leading to retirement. 04, Michael Vick broke his leg and a dogfighting asshole. We wish he broke a lot more. 05, Ray Lewis broke a wrist. 06, McNabb, first game injury, missed 7 games after that. 07, Sean Alexander, foot fracture, missed 6 games. 08, Vince Young, injury, deemed mentally unstable,
mood,
put on suicide watch. 09, Brett Favre, bicep tear. So it just seems to be, and there was a lot more after that. That's just where I was like, oh God, all right, I'm good. But it seems to be everybody who goes on this cover suffers a curse. I think the only one who got out of it was John Madden because he was already dead.
Well, I mean, you can't catch me, Madden Curse. I'm already in hell.
No, he seemed to be like such a good, wholesome guy. He really did.
Well then,
I'm not even a sports head, but he seemed fun.
I take that back. No, I'm in heaven with the Poke Gods.
There we go.
Apparently he's a pirate now. I'm so sorry. Trust me, he's fine, I know.
There we go. He wasn't mad and cursed. He broke.
I see dead people, we're good.
Yep. So
there's a lot of myths here. I don't know if I can handle any more myths.
Good Lord. All right, well, I believe we have one more thing left on the docket.
Why don't we do that when we come back from a break?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
We will have that right after we get back.
All right.
This time you're not getting away.
Don't be so impatient. Settle down.
That's the way it's done.
Hey,
Hello.
Mr. Crush.
Yes.
I hear you like to ask people trivia questions sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that something you enjoy?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, I bet you like it as much as I like awkward transitions, and we will find out in our next segment, which I like to call Quiz Time.
Quiz time!
Did you hear that theme music? Wow.
Perfect.
You really classed up the place since the last time I was here.
Yes, I thought we just needed a little bit more pizzazz.
Oh, of course. So I'm going to ask you 9 questions ranging from simple to hard. They're going to be based on myths and legends, as is our theme today.
All right.
And why 9 questions, you ask? Because the Triforce has 3 pieces, and 3 times 3 is 9. So, question 1.
Yes.
In 2001, an issue of Electronic Gamers Monthly revealed a prank stating that you can unlock Sonic and Tails in Melee. What month was that issue of the magazine released?
That would have to be an April Fool's month. No one's going to believe that right off the bat.
Yeah!
Correct. It was April.
Okay, all right.
So, yeah,
all right.
we're starting off easy.
Toss.
Yeah, we're starting off easy.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Number 2. The Polybius arcade machine was reported to have appeared in 1981 in arcades of what U.S. city?
Oh, shit. How is it in my notes? I'm looking at my notes. Damn it. I'm going to say it was like Tennessee?
Oh!
Ooh, that's incorrect. The correct answer was Portland, Oregon.
Yes. All right. Yep. Don't have that wrote down.
Number 3. In The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the 3 goddesses created the land of Hyrule, and the Triforce formed at the point where they left the world. What is the capital of Wyoming?
Wait, what? I don't know the capital of Wyoming.
Oh!
Oh, I'm sorry. The correct answer is nothing, because Wyoming isn't actually a state. It's just a square-shaped hole in the land, and you can't convince me otherwise.
What the fuck is this?
I mean, do you even know anybody from Wyoming?
Is this how it feels when I do trivia to other people?
I don't know.
Is this... I get it now. I get it now, and I'm sorry. Is this am I atoning for something, God?
Now that you've repented for your sins and realized there is no God, question 4. In Mario 64, there was a blurry plaque on the statue of a giant star that people claim to say L is real 2401. What does the plaque actually say?
That's gibberish. That's a trick question. It doesn't actually say anything.
Maybe?
Oh.
I believe it was interpreted to say eternal star, but...
I feel like somebody actually got their hands on the resource and it ended up just being squiggles.
You know what? It's ambiguous. I'll give you that one.
Yeah!
All right. Staying alive.
All right. Number 5, what does ERMAC stand for?
Ah, fantastic. Error macro.
Yeah!
So, number 6, there are at least 45 Pokemon commonly believed to exist as secret, hidden, or Pokegod status, beyond the 151 that were found in Red and Blue. Can you name at least 5 of them?
Oh, no. Not even after we had our talk.
Well, great.
5? I would be lucky to do like 2.
Well, I'm glad you were paying attention this entire time.
Yeah, Apocalypse, Sun Guy, Moon Guy, Pokeblue, Mew 3.
You specifically said the name Peekaboo yourself before I mentioned it, I think.
Damn it.
You did your best, so half a point. Yeah! Number 7, what is the square root of 144?
What is this shit?
Math, unfortunately.
Oh, God. Is it 3?
No, the correct answer is 12.
Shit.
Nah, it's fine. You're doing great, Sweaty. Number 8. In Persona 4, the Awakened Eye glitch appears most frequently on Yosuke's evolved persona. What was the name of that persona?
What is this shit?
It's called Pay Attention When I Talk.
Yeah, no shit. The quiz is reading comprehension, motherfucker. I don't know, Ned. I don't know. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. And I'm on trial.
The correct answer is Susano. Susano.
Yeah. Susanusaphone, man.
Well, maybe if you paid more attention, this friendship wouldn't be falling apart. Question 9. What was the name of the website that debuted the Triforce in the Temple of Light rumor?
This literally was just a "Did you fucking listen to me" episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like it's HTLOZ or something like that.
You got it. I'm giving that to you.
Okay, all right.
That was the hardest one, and that concludes this episode of Quiz Time.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Oh.
You got a score of 4.5 out of 9. That's a solid C-.
that's not quiz time. Is that a joke?
Eh?
Quiz time is because you're quizzing me, or like?
No, it's the name of the segment. Didn't you hear the theme music?
Quiz time!
This is. I'm so sorry to everybody I've ran trivia on. I am so sorry. All right, guys.
But I do want to tell you, rumors like these, when we were kids, were such magical things. Like promises of secret characters, hidden items, coherent story. We don't have things like this nowadays to the same extent.
Not even close.
Recently, I heard there was like a side quest in Final Fantasy IX that people didn't find out about until like 2 or 3 years ago. Which, I mean...
Every now and then you do find little discoveries that for some reason sat dormant. It reminds me of the Punch-Out one, where people found out if you synced up the punch to the guy flashing his camera in the crowd, that was a one-hit KO.
Really?
And up until just a few years ago, nobody knew.
Holy crap, that's really cool.
Yeah, so you do have little stuff like that. As for modern releases that elicit this sort of feeling, I would say the closest thing that I've come across personally is Tunic. If you've had any experience with that game,
it's on my list.
It comes baked in with its own language. It does not hold your hand. In fact, figuring out how to do it is 90% of the fun. And when you finally do figure out what I wouldn't necessarily call puzzles, but more just like new mechanics and ways to play the game you're already given, it feels so rewarding and so much like finding Missing No. Like, this is one of those myths that turned out to be true. Oh, this is something I can do. This is real. And I would say that's the closest thing I've experienced in the modern era that gets that same kind of emotion.
Yeah. And I mean, like nowadays that people can like deconstruct a ROM and find all the secrets like in seconds. And there are also like 7.
Yeah.
Just keeping that alive. I'm getting a little teary now. I'm remembering just like all the, like the past and like all the rabbit holes I would dive into on the early internet, and
it doesn't seem to happen as much anymore. I agree. I would say in devil's advocate for online games, just because they can't be data dumped, you know, you have to wait till they're patched in, or there's some kind of encryption on the back end that you're not allowed to get through. Not that I'm wanting more always online video games, especially not for the sake of just little mysteries like this, but that does keep things somewhat hidden, and it does keep things somewhat enticing for those games that do.
Yeah.
Exactly like I was talking about with Diablo 4. There might be a cow level there. There might not be. If there isn't yet, there will be.
And I feel like a lot of indie games try to do that kind of thing with like hidden lore and hidden stories, especially the massive ton of like horror games that are coming out now that are about kids that are just stuck inside of a bear suit or something, or an evil mascot.
Dime a dozen.
It's kind of interesting how the people who probably grew up around our age are making games to try and capture that in the best way that they can, even though that magic doesn't exist in the same way. So that gives me hope.
I mean, when it's original, it's something that you see with sort of a new lens. And when the first Five Nights at Freddy's dropped, it was a big deal. That's why you see so many copycats these days. They're all trying to get in on that, and therefore they can't be as original as they could be. Some have done it really well. Not to say that there isn't copycats that haven't done well for themselves, but you will never be as original as the original. That's just how it works. Every now and then somebody comes up with that fresh take. And I think we're just kind of waiting for that next one to come down the pipes that really gets the myth engine churning again. We might have just not had anything in recent years that stick out as something both original and enough to chew on,
In the meantime, I'm just not going to let my kids use the internet, so they'll have that magic all to themselves again.
There's multiple reasons not to do that, but yes.
And we're back to the hellscape.
Either way, that's been the Retro Achievements Podcast, guys, from the mountains of myth. Write your fan mail in retroachievementpodcast@gmail.com. Happy to always see those come in. Anything else, always in the Discord channel, RA Podcast. Get a hold of me there. We do have an ongoing contest. If nobody has cleared out the first round by the time this episode posts, we will roll the prize pool over and it gets larger. So the ongoing contest is there are going to be sound effects edited through this episode, just like for the rest of them. You got to name me what the sound effect is and what game it comes from. Do all that and you take home the prize pool. After this episode goes up, it'll be $10. Other than that, we will see all you guys next time. Thanks for listening.
Bye.